ETE Imhotep Seni Senet Ankwasta Jed Ankuja Seneb Dua Henu for listening. Uh Greetings and peace, life, strength, and health, uh family. Thank you for listening, for Shadi listening to another episode of Heck in the Chair, and it's been a while. But a serious thing happened in the community. So sometimes, even though I'm extremely busy, you have to stop what you're doing to address the situation. I don't feel like it's been really properly addressed yet. Hasn't been properly addressed yet. And so that's exactly why we need to have this conversation. Um, One of the things in the topic concerning is pedophilia. Pedophilia. And apparently, if you look back, because I sat down and I had to look back, this has been going on around, they call it the conscious community, but really it's just a group of Black people who discuss issues. Um, but when you look at it, it's made up of several different communities. You have uh, types of Muslims, you've got type of Hebrews or Israelites, you have Ramech. Some people call themselves Kemetic. Some of us call ourselves Shimsu Asar. Some call, some of these guys are Nuwapians. There's so many people in this particular, what we call a conscious community. But what's been kind of going under the rug, and we screamed on it a little while ago, is that there's some pedophiles or impossible pedophiles in this community. And so now we have to stamp some things, we have to look at some things, you have to address some of these things, right? Because you had the situation with Africa Bambaataa, and now they're doing a documentary. You have the situation with Nasi Yashavel. You have the situation with the Mighty Hebrew. You have the situation where you had a group, I believe they're called GMS, a type of Israelite group, get on and try to justify some Bible verses that talk about having sex with a girl as soon as she has her period in the day and times of now, if you're an adult. And so you have some of this, and now you have the situation where Brother Polite is facing charges, I believe, for the second time, they say. And then you had somebody throw up Brother Solomon the other day saying that he was charged or pled to lesser charges of some violation. So you got a lot of pedophilia talk in the community right now. And we have to address these things, because one thing's for sure, two things for certain: we cannot have our children around pedophilia, right? I have a track record. I've got some assault charges. I'm a prize fighter, and I came up in a certain environment. It's going to happen sometimes, especially when you're in a rough neighborhood. But I never violate sexually. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. No means no. And these are some things that you have to just know. You have to know as an adult, right? And if you don't know them, of course, there's people who will start to show you them. But as a Ramech, a teardrop of Ra, coming from the Ramech society, if you will, there's some things that we know from certain stories and from certain elders. And so I'm going to cover a story today first, just portions of it, the continuings of Horus and Set, because even though this is a comedic story for its time, it's based in comedy, this particular story. It addresses pedophilia. It addresses pedophilia. And Afterwards, we'll have some commentary from Ptah, and we'll have some commentary from Ankh Shashank, and then we'll close out. But without keeping you too long, let's get into pedophilia and its harmful effects and why it's necessary that we discuss such a thing. I don't know if you can see my screen. I believe I'm sharing. I'm hoping I'm sharing. Let me see. Let me make sure. Before we get going. It says I'm presenting. New share. Okay, and then my thumbnail videos over there. Okay, so I'm assuming you can see the screen and you can see my little thumbnail, right? Let's put this. So we're going to start with the story of Horus and Set, just to kind of, and this is a jestful story about a serious situation, but we're going to cover portions of it, and then we'll come back and we're going to discuss this because these are the tools that we have to use. These are just a few of them because there's others. There's others that we have that discuss pedophilia in its time. But this is Horus and Set. Heru here, Set here. Let's talk about the story. Nobody ever uses this tool properly. They always make jest of it. The portion of the story will start at. Then she went to tell Pre-Horaketi, I found Heru after Set had deprived him of his eyes, but I have restored him to health. See, he's back. Then said the Ennead, for those of you who don't know the Ennead or the Pasejetu Enu, these are a group that held over what you would call Heliopolis, which is really called Inu or Enu, as you always hear. And they are a set of judges, about 30 in particular. So there's a dispute between Horus and Set, and this is what the Ennead have to say concerning. They say, let Horus and Set be summoned so that they may be judged. Then they were brought before the Ennead. The universal Lord said before the great Ennead to Horus and Set, go and pay heed to what I tell you. You shall eat and drink so that he may have some peace. Stop quarreling so each day on end. Stop fighting each other. And that's what we're seeing in the conscious community right now. We're seeing a lot of infighting. We're seeing a lot of finger pointing. You did, oh, look, your whole religion is about this. Oh, your whole religion is about that. You need to slow down. Oh, you're an enemy. You're an enemy. No, you're black. And you're acting unconscious. And so you need to slow back down and remember who you are and be an Asar. And if you're Hebrew, you need to be an Ashar. You understand? You need to slow back down and stop pointing the finger. Stop blaming the whole community on one person's actions. That's not what we do. That's not what we do. Some of you guys get caught up in these debates and you forget the damage you can cause. You want Crips and Bloods to happen again. You want BD and GD to happen again. You want Trinitarios versus, you understand what I'm saying? Versus Decepticon versus Aiti. You know, stop. Stop being ignorant. That's your problem. Everything is a fight for you. Everything is a no. Slow your roll, pump your brakes. Let's read further. Stop quarreling. So each day on end. Then Set told Horus, come, let's make holiday in my house. And Horus answered him, I'll do so. Yes, I'll do so. I'll do so. Now let me tell you why Horus would do such a thing. Set is his uncle, number one. He should be able to trust his uncle, number two. Number three, he's a Necharu. So it's a story. You understand what I'm saying? And so who wouldn't be able to trust their uncle? And when you look at pedophilia, it's always somebody close to you. It's usually somebody real close to you. Of course, there's also rape, right? But it's generally somebody close to you, next to you, in your house, someone you see on a regular basis. And they're usually older than you, and they'll usually try to take advantage of you. No different than R. Kelly's sister did to her two brothers, Kelly and I believe James. No different. And so these are the signs of pedophilia. First, they build trust based off of lust. Trust based off of lust. Be careful. Be careful who you leave your children around, family or not. Let's go further. Now, afterward, at evening time, bed was prepared for them, and together they laid down. During the night, Set caused his phallus to become stiff and inserted it between Horus's thighs. Horus then placed his hands between his thighs and caught Seth's semen. Then Horus went to tell his mother, Aset, help me, Aset. My mother, come and see what Seth has done to me. And he opened his hands and let her see Seth's semen. She let out a loud cry, took up her knife, cut off his hands, threw them into the water, and restored for him hands that were equivalent. So you see two things here. You see an uncle taking advantage of a minor. And this is what we see all the time. It's usually someone close, a friend of the family, a family member taking advantage of a minor. And the mother who finds out is outraged. She lets out a cry immediately. He's a Necharu. So she cut off his hands and replaced his hands. She replaced his hands. Remember, this story is in jest about something serious. Comedy was different. And so she cuts his hands off in horror and outrage of the situation. And then she goes about getting revenge. But mother, this is how you handle it. The first thing, console your child. The first thing she did was console her child. She was upset about the matter. She consoled her child. Don't keep this hidden, because when you keep it hidden, nothing is done for you. Nothing can be done about the matter when it's too late. So immediately she acts. Let's see how she acts. Isis at morning time went carrying Horus semen to the garden of Set. And she said to Set's gardener, what sort of vegetable does Set eat here in your company? And the gardener answered her, he doesn't eat any vegetable here in my company except lettuce. And Aset put Horus's semen on it. Set returned according to his daily habit and ate the lettuce, which he regularly ate. Thereupon he became pregnant with Horus's semen. And so you see the jest in the story. So Seth went to tell Horus, come, let's go that I may contend with you in court. Horus said to him. He said, I'll do so. Yes, I'll do so. I'll do so. Then they both went to court and stood in the presence of the great Ennead. So right here, Set defiled Horus in the story because he wanted the throne. And doing something like that to a person, which is a violation of rights and disrespect, that you would indulge in it in the first place, with the minor, no disrespect to anyone who's homosexual. If you do that to a minor, you've disrespected him. And in Ancient Kemmet, this would disallow you from being a king on the throne. This would disallow that, the situation that has been spoken upon. Let's go further. They were told, speak for yourselves. Then Set said, let me be awarded the office of ruler. Uja Seneb, life, strength, and health, life, prosperity, and health. For as to Heru, the one who was standing at law, I have performed the man's work against him. The Ennead then let out a loud cry, and they spewed and spat at Horus's face. So this is seen as a despicable act. It's a despicable act. You understand? And the courtroom spit at him. Horus knew better, because remember, it didn't physically happen to him. He grabbed it. He made sure it didn't penetrate or violate him. But he knew his uncle was stronger than him. So as soon as he got a chance, he got up out of there. He ran to his mom. He screamed for his mom, right? Same thing you would do. You would go rush to the cops immediately. Don't wait. Go to the cops. You're young, you go to your parents, you go to the cops. Someone has violated you, period. Let's go further. The Ennead then let out a loud cry, and they spewed and spat at Horus's face. Horus laughed at them. Then Horus took an oath by Necha as follows. All that Seth has said is false. Let Seth's semen be summoned that we may see from where it answers, and my own be summoned that we may see from where it answers. Now remember, Set put Horus's semen on the letters. Set ate the letters. Let's go further. Then Jehudi, Lord of script and scribe of truth for the Ennead, laid his hands on Horus' shoulder and said, come out, you semen of Set. And it answered him from the water in the interior of the marsh. So it came out of a marsh where Set threw Horus's hands. She threw Heru's hands in the water and fashioned new ones on his body, right? Then Jehudi laid his hands on Set's shoulder and said, come out, you semen of Horus. It said to him, where shall I come from? Jehudi said to it, come out from his ear. Thereupon it said to him, am I, who am divine fluid, to come out merely from his ear? Then Jehudi said to it, come out from the top of his head. And it emerged as a golden solar disk upon Set's head. Set became exceedingly furious and extended his hand to seize the golden solar disk. But Jehudi took it away from him and placed it as a crown upon his own head. Then the Ennead said, Horus is right, Set is wrong. And the matter was concluded. Now, that's a story of jest. That's a story of jest and play and banter that we have between Horus and Set as they had contendings over the throne of Ancient Kemmet. But the matter is serious. And as you can see, all the proper steps are taken in there. The first thing, the little one gets away from the uncle. Be careful of who you leave your children with. Set was a little, what would we say? We would say a little, she wasn't careful there, right? She allowed for Horus to be in the care of Set after they had just finished warring, even though the Ennead made a judgment telling them, sit down somewhere and eat something or do something with yourselves. You're too crazy right now. Set was like, come on, let's squash this, nephew. Come here, come to the house. But it was an attempt to violate him. And then the attempted violation, you see all the steps. The first steps, go tell somebody. That's the first thing Horus did. He told somebody close to him who he could trust. He told his mother. Second, let's go to court. Let's go to court about it, right? Because now there's accusations against you. You're saying it's not me. I didn't do it. It's not me. Third, in court, you should have your day. And in this case, they had their day. Because when they asked the semen to come out, guess who it came out of? It came out of Set. He was found wrong. He was found guilty on all charges. And that's what we hope will happen if this brother is incorrect in his actions, our brother Polite, because you can't violate the children like that. That's not what we're doing. That won't be allowed to happen. So anybody who runs into these types of situations, these are the things that we have to look at. These are the steps to take. Tell somebody, go to the police. Don't be ashamed of the situation if you had no control over it. Let's go to Ptah for a minute. Maxim 18 and then 32. Maxim 18 says this: if you want friendship to endure in the house, you enter as master, brother, or friend, or in whatever place you enter, beware of approaching the women. Unhappy is the place where it is done. Their face is not keen on he who intrudes on them. 1,000 men are turned away from their good. A short moment like a dream, then death comes for having known them. Poor advice is shoot the opponent. When one goes to do it, the heart rejects it. But as for him who fails through lust of them, no affair of his can prosper. Maxim 18. So when you enter anyone's house, when you're around their women folk, you're around their little boys, their children, their women. You understand? Be careful about approaching them. Beware, it says, of approaching them. You understand? You understand? The face is not keen on he who intrudes on them. 1,000 men are turned away from their good by doing this act. So it's very important that you are careful around the women folk. It's very important that you do not violate the youngsters. Pedophilia, rape, unacceptable. Unacceptable. It tells you right here, a short moment like a dream, then death comes for having known them. Because guess what people want to do to you when you do such a thing? Yeah, they want to get rid of you. They want to get rid of you. And it can happen. And who's going to defend you if this is what you're doing? If this is what you're doing. I'm not talking quarreling husband and wife. That's marriage counseling. We're talking violation and pedophilia and rape. That is a problem. That is a problem. Let's go to Maxim 32. And so many people misinterpret this, and they also mistranslate it. It says, do not copulate with the woman child, for you know that one will fight against the water upon her heart. What is in her belly will not be refreshed. That during the night she does not do what is repelled, but be calmed after having ended the offense of her heart. Do not violate a married woman. He who violates a married woman on the bed will have his wife violated on the ground. So it's telling you, don't disrespect the woman child. And do not disrespect the married women. Be careful. Beware around the women in someone's house. This can bring about agitation. In particular, a woman child here. So when we look at the case and how it will unfold with Brother Polite, if we see these things, he has to be cut off. He has to be cut off. Period. Period. If we find these things in certain people, you have to be careful of giving them power and say in your life, or even counsel from some of these types of people, because it can be detrimental in the decisions that you make later on. Your affiliation with them, or if you're around them, some of the things that they do. You got a guy trying to blame what they do. These dummies out here, they try to blame. They blame the Sarnetta for what Polite did right now. You make no sense. You make no sense. You can't blame so and so for something that Solar Mind may have done, right? You make no sense. He's his own individual. Ma'at exacts truth and justice on the person who refrains from it. The mighty Hebrew, who was convicted, I believe they say. Huh? You can't blame, say I try to blame Daniela for something the mighty Hebrew did. How? How? I can't blame Tazariak for what Nashi Yashavel did. Guys sound ignorant. And anyone who would believe that is a dummy themselves. You understand? I bet you Sarnetta won't appear in Brother Polite's trial. I bet Daniela wasn't in Nashi Yashavel's trial. If one of those brothers from GMS get convicted for the stuff they said that you will find in that Bible, I'm sure none of you Hebrew Israelites listening will be at their trial. Because you didn't do it. You didn't do it. But we did see some people, if let me not even go there. If we talk Dr. York, what was he? He was an Islamic Hebrew. Then he became a Nuwapian. He got convicted. Nobody else there was, right? So you wouldn't blame Jabari, you wouldn't find Jabari Osaze at his trial, would you? So your quarreling and infighting sound goofy. You sound goofy. What's necessary right now is to keep this child's name secret, as we do in Ancient Kemmet. We always hide the Ren, because whoever she is, we want her not to be affiliated or associated with this vile act. That's first. Let's keep her name where it's supposed to be. You hide your Ren, or you have several of them, right? And it's because the person who knows your name has power over you. It's said, an ancient African proverb, an ancient Ramech proverb in particular. And so keep her name out of our mouths concerning, unless it pops up on television. We don't want her associated with this act for the rest of her life. It's a vile act, what was said. Fellatio and some other nonsense. And then, of course, as we said before, don't beware around the women of the household. Simple as that, especially if you're a member of that household. We'll end it here with Ankh Shashank, parting words. Do not violate a married woman. He who violates a married woman on the bed will have his wife violated on the ground. Better a statue of stone than a foolish son. Better no brother than one who is evil. Better death than want. And with those words, remember who you are and be an Asar, Ankwas Tejed, Anku Jasanev. Always a pleasure. It's been a while. I'll talk to you soon. Emitel.